We are crystal, walking, talking crystals. And incidentally, the crystalline membrane and the outside of the cell has gates and channels which open according to electrical on-off charges, the binary system. Because it works on the same computer system, or basically, and this is interesting too, because these gates and channels open to let in stuff that's good for the cells and shut out things that are bad for the cells. And they open and shut according to electrical charges, which operate in the way they should, left to their own devices. But when you are subjected, as we are now, to massive amounts of electromagnetic fields, etc., these things can open and shut when they shouldn't be, let the bad stuff in and shut the good stuff out. So we are crystals decoding, and the DNA itself is crystalline, and because of its very shape, is an antennae. This is an article about this I got off the internet. From the characteristic form of this giant molecule, a wound double helix, the DNA represents an ideal electromagnetic antennae. On one hand, it is elongated and thus a blade which can take up very well electrical pulses. On the other hand, seen from above, it has the form of a ring and is thus a very magnetical antennae. So we are receiver transmitters. This Don Juan, the shaman source of the Carlos Castaneda books, absolutely encapsulated the whole thing when he said, we are perceivers, we are awareness, we are not objects, we have no solidity, we are boundless. We, or rather our reason, mind, forget this, and thus we entrap the totality of ourselves in a vicious circle from which we rarely emerge in our lifetime. Receiver transmitters. And this is where this comes in. I'll get more into this in the second section. Manipulation by word. Destabilization of the body, computer and transmitter receiver by the poison shite that they put in food and drink. Through belief systems like religion, through misrepresentation of reality, through education, they're all seeking, and this is when you get behind the people, behind the people, behind the people, into those levels where they really know how this works. This is what they're targeting. They're targeting all the time our ability to decode reality in the full breadth, sharpness, and clarity that it should be, and put us in these vibrational boxes and eggshells, and therefore put us in this world of total bewilderment where we don't know what the hell's going on, who we are, or what the bloody game is. And so we're connected to this holographic internet. It's got kind of, wires here, but it's not like that. This reality, the one that we are decoding into this apparently physical world, has its mirror now in the wireless internet. If this theater has got the wireless internet, I can't see it. Where is it? Nowhere, apparently. But I could tune this computer to the internet, and out of nothingness, what we can't see, would come the World Wide Web on this screen. That's what we're doing. In the reality that we think is nothing, we're actually decoding a vibrational information, the wireless internet, into this reality, which again comes back to the Matrix movie, very accurate. The Matrix is everywhere. It is all around you, even now in this very room. You can see it when you look out of your window or you turn on your television. You can feel it when you go to work, when you go to church, when you pay your taxes. It is the world that has been pulled over your eyes to blind you from the truth. What truth? That you are a slave, Neo. Like everyone else, you were born into bondage, born into a prison you cannot smell, taste, or touch. A prison for your mind. Where does this universe exist in terms of its physicality? It exists in the wireless vibrational construct that our brains decode into this. And we can decode it in a way where we get to many, many levels of reality, or, this is the key of the manipulation, we can access only a fraction of it. And that's what they do in China. They firewall off the Chinese computer system so it can only access a limited part of the World Wide Web, and therefore not access what the authorities don't want them to understand. In so many ways, that's what is happening to us all the time. In the way that we are manipulated into the box of perception, it's firewalling us off from the information, knowledge, and understanding that is there if we were left to our natural state. We've gone from connection to all that is, and slowly but surely, the mind has been turned into the governor. Turned into the governor of our reality. And we've been put into bubbles. Operate within little bubbles, within big bubbles, but operating in a fraction of our true potential. And if that didn't happen, there would be no way in the world that the few could control the many and enslave billions of people as they do. So what is reality? It is the range of frequencies that we are decoding and how we are decoding them. I'll just tell you this story very quickly to kind of sum up everything I'm saying. In this book, The Holographic Universe by Michael Tolbert, he tells a story. It's a great book. He tells a story of something he experienced where he's at a party which his father organized, and he had a stage hypnotist along. And he's getting them to do party tricks and all that stuff, getting them to eat a potato and think it's an apple. How does he do that? He implants the belief in the decoding system that it's an apple, and therefore the person eats a potato, but that electrical signal is decoded as an apple because that's what the decoding system has been manipulated to do. Now imagine that over the range of society and everyday life, because that's what's happening to us all the time. But he got this guy called Tom, who was at the party, and he sat him down, and he got him to do various things. And then towards the end, he said to him, when I bring you back to a waking state, you're not going to be able to see your daughter in the room. And when before he brought him back, he brought the daughter, and he stood the daughter in front of her father, so her father's looking into her belly. And then he brings him back, apparently to a waking state, and he says to him, can you see your daughter in the room, Tom? He's looking around. No, I can't see her. Not here. People are giggling. She's giggling. You can't hear them. Or hear her, anyway. And then the hypnotist went behind the daughter, and he put his hand in the small of her back, and he said, Tom, I'm holding something. What am I holding? Daughter's here, Tom's here. He looks at him bewildered because it's obvious. He says, you're holding a watch. He says, there's an inscription on the watch. Can you read it? He peered forward, read the inscription. His daughter's here. Now, if you explain that to people, explain that to a mainstream scientist. You say, impossible, impossible, stupid, crazy. No, no. The only place that his daughter existed in that physical form was in his head when it was decoded into that form. Before the decoding happens, she is just energy, an energetic form, consciousness in that way. And so if he, because the implanted belief was so well done that it affected his ability to decode that, and the brain didn't code that energy field, he didn't bring his daughter into the level that his eyes can perceive, what we call physical level. And so everything else in the room existed in the physical because he decoded that, but not the daughter. And because the daughter wasn't there, he could see what was behind her. And when you see the levels to which the mind can be manipulated, and you think that the people behind this conspiracy understand that, then you can see how easy it is as long as we don't understand this information. The world seems solid, seems very solid, but it can't be, because the world's made of atoms, and atoms have no solidity. As someone pointed out, if you take an atom to be the size of a cathedral, then the nucleus in the center of the atom would be the size of a 10-cent piece. The rest of it is empty space. How can empty space, just an energetic, non-solid thing, become the solid world? It can't be. And quantum physicists, how can that be? Atoms have no solidity, but the world's solid. How can they? It's just the decoding process. That's all it is. And that's what they miss. That it's in our heads. And the world, I'll finish on this bit, the world is a hologram, a gigantic hologram. That's what the universe is. And the fields, etc., these things can open and shut when they shouldn't be, let the bad stuff in and shut the good stuff out. So we are crystals decoding, and the DNA itself is crystalline, and because of its very shape is a antennae. This is an article about this I got off the internet from Don Juan, the shaman source of the Carlos Castaneda books, absolutely encapsulated the whole thing when he said, we are perceivers, we are awareness, we are not objects, we have no solidity, we are boundless, we, or rather our reason, mind, forget this, and thus we entrap the totality of ourselves in a vicious circle from which we rarely... We are crystal, walking, talking crystals. And incidentally, the crystalline membrane and the outside of the cell has gates and channels which open according to electrical on-off charges, the binary system, because it works on the same computer system, or basically, and this is interesting too, because these gates and channels open to let in stuff that's good for the cells and shut out things that are bad for the cells. And they open and shut according to electrical charges, which operate in the way they should, left to their own devices. But when you are subjected, as we are now, to massive amounts of electromagnetic, from the characteristic form of this giant molecule, a wound double helix, the DNA represents an ideal electromagnetic antennae. On one hand, it is elongated and thus a blade which can take up very well electrical pulses. On the other hand, seen from above, it has the form of a ring and is thus a very magnetical antennae. So we are receiver transmitters. This